Okay, welcome everybody to today's workshop that is part of Memorial Hermann's Resolution Reset. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm Laura. I'm an interfaith chaplain at Memorial Hermann Memorial City Hospital in the Supportive Medicine Program. And chaplains here provide spiritual and emotional care support to diverse patients, their families, as well as staff here in our hospitals. We help people explore what is meaningful to them, what helps them cope in challenging times. And that's why I'm really happy to be talking about journaling with y'all today. I've been an avid journaler since I was about 11 or 12, and I found it to be a really meaningful practice. So thanks again for joining. Maybe you're in your lunch break today. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat box. I know some of you have already chatted there already. Thank you for that. And I'll monitor that as we go. And also, if you have any questions, we'll address some of those at the end. There may be some tips that you have or some words of encouragement you want to share with everybody gathered here today. So again, I just really encourage that participation. Okay, so let's get started. There we go. Great. So what is journaling and how can it help us? Journaling is a writing practice that can help us make meaning and process difficult things, to chronicle our everyday life, to work through challenges, to gain insights and inspiration. And I found it to be really tremendously beneficial in my life. Maybe this has been the case for you as well, and you're seeking some encouragement about your practice, or maybe you're thinking about journaling for the first time. And my hope for our time today is to provide both some encouragement for those who've been at this for a while, as well as some tips for those who are just getting started. So just out of curiosity, how many of you who are with us today already have a regular practice of journaling? I would just love to hear that if you could drop that in the box here. Okay, cool. Some people attending on the lunch break, and yeah. So if you are journaling already, love to. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Henny's, for letting us know. Wonderful. Journaling is a creative endeavor. Usually when we journal, it's for ourselves, so we can be totally open and honest, and we can that can be really freeing. And so before I dive into discussing journaling further, I want to note the context we're all living in right now, right? So this year has been extremely stressful on so many levels. I was in the ICU the other day, and one of the nurses who I work with, who's been taking care of a lot of COVID patients over the last year, shared that she feels that right now she just needs to write it out, to process all the things that have happened in the past year. And many of us may feel that way. Writing is a way that we can slow down, to process, to work through things, to make meaning of things that happen to us. And just want to know too that when we're in the midst of a crisis, the focus is on survival. It's on that day-to-day getting through. So it's often not until we get to a place of relative safety that we can really begin to process some of the emotions that we've been through. So I think that's where a lot of people are now emotionally that I talk to, like, oh my gosh, we've been through so many intense things, and now I'm feeling all these feelings come up. So it is a great time to journal, to reflect, as well as to access other means of support. And I want to mention that journaling is just one tool in our toolkit for self-care. And certainly there are many others that we might utilize, like counseling, exercise, yoga, other ways of taking care of the body, because so much of that stress, anxiety can reside in the body too. Prayer, meditation, or other means of support. And that's actually a really great journaling prompt as well. Like, what is it that helps you process challenging emotions? What helps you feel renewed and refreshed in your life? What support do you really need right now? What has helped you to move through challenging times in the past? Or what is, what are some words of encouragement, inspiration you have for yourself? So these are some things that we might think about. Okay, great. And I see some folks making comments in the box here as well. So thank you for that. Appreciate that as well. So Trucell saying, I've been journaling since I was a teenager. Bobby says, trying to make that more consistent. Mazella is saying, I used to do it regularly but quit. So restarting. So appreciate that. Okay, so what does the research say about journaling? So there actually has been quite a bit of research on journaling. And according to that research, journaling has been shown to have a number of benefits, including boosting mood, enhancing a sense of well-being, reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety, reducing symptoms after a traumatic event, improving working memory. And again, I'm not saying journaling is a cure-all. I think it's really important to think of journaling as one tool in our toolkit, in addition to other self-care tools. But I think that research is pretty compelling as well. So according to the article, journaling, how journaling can help you in hard times, which is published on the Greater Good Science Center's website at UC Berkeley. In a 2006 study, they took 100 young adults who were asked to spend 15 minutes journaling or drawing about a stressful event or writing about plans for the day. They did this twice during 1 week. Now, the group that journaled saw actually the biggest reduction in symptoms like depression, anxiety, and hostility. And so that's really interesting. So this was true even though 80% of those young people had never really journaled before, and only 61% were actually even comfortable doing that. But nevertheless, the majority still had a reduction of all these symptoms as well. And according to Joshua Smith, who's a professor in biobehavioral health and medicine at Penn State, he writes that journaling is a tool to put our experiences, thoughts, beliefs, and desires into language. And in doing so, it helps us to understand, to grow, and to make sense of them. So I think that's a little bit about, why is this beneficial for us? So I just wanted to mention that, and certainly, take a look at some of those articles, those journal articles. Wonderful. So forms of journaling. So let's talk a little bit about this as well. So I want to mention expressive writing. This is often what people think of when they think about journaling. So what is expressive writing? So that's basically kind of like, getting it out. When you spend time writing about your feelings, just, dumping it out on the page, and you're not really worrying about your spelling, you're not really worried about your paragraph, structure and things like that, or being repetitive even. You're kind of, it could be even like a stream of consciousness. You're getting out those feelings, and it's just for you. It's not, to publish or something else, but it's just for you to help process your emotion. So that is a form of journaling I really like. I find it really helpful too. It's kind of like your unfiltered thoughts sometimes. And they've also done studies on this and shown a lot of benefits. Gratitude journaling. I know we hear a lot about this as well. And there have been a number of studies on gratitude practices. There's a growing body of research on this. It's showing benefits for helping people to sleep better, have lower stress, lower symptoms of depression, improve interpersonal relationships. Also, they show a reduction in materialism and increased generosity through just a practice of gratitude. Author and social worker Brene Brown writes that there is no joy without gratitude. This is in the book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And she found that when she studied wholehearted people, so people who are just really living their authentic lives wholeheartedly, she found that the people who were the most joyful had a consistent practice of gratitude. So she really makes that direct correlation between a gratitude practice and cultivating joy in your life. So wow, that's really compelling. I listened to the book recently again on Audible, and I felt really encouraged to restart my own gratitude journal as well. And the nice thing about that is that it's so simple. You can even just list 3 to 5 items each day, or a few times a week, things that you feel grateful for in your life. And of course, you can write a lot more as well. But I like that even just a simple list can be really effective. And, I know sometimes we're in the midst of really difficult things. I think sometimes it can be challenging to think of what we're grateful for. But Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh also writes that we can also be grateful for things that we don't have. So today I'm grateful I don't have a toothache, for example. Other things like that, So if you're having a tough time thinking, oh, what am I grateful for? Things are tough. You can also think of, well, I'm grateful that I don't have this, I don't have that, and that, So that's just an idea too. Prompts. So again, it can be hard to get started sometimes. Or sometimes also, I think maybe we're stuck. Maybe we journaled for a long time and we want to have a little more inspiration. Prompts is something that we can use. So if you just Google journaling prompts, as I did recently preparing for this, there are many examples, many websites of just hundreds of different journaling prompts, and in different categories too, like relationships, career, your spiritual life, or inspiration, other things. So other categories as well, creativity. So, look at those, find some prompts that might kind of get things going for you. That's really helpful. And this last category I have is kind of freestyle and mixed media. So, other. Journaling is a creative process, and you can really make it your own. The sky is the limit. You can experiment with what you like. You can mix writing and drawing, or you're writing and like scrapbooking in your journal. You can use different color pens. I really like that. These are some of my favorites. They're these fine point markers, different colors. So you can use a traditional journal like this one. I really like this. It's nice to find like a beautiful book, but you can also use any old notebook as well. Some people prefer lined paper. Some people prefer unlined paper. I personally love just blank pages, the unlined paper, because I feel like it helps me to be more creative, because I can just write in different directions, or I can sometimes like do like a brainstorming kind of like mind map, or even draw or other things on that. So that's just an idea as well. So something for you to consider as well. And so again, formats. So we have like traditional, pen and paper, pencil and paper journal. Yeah, you can draw, you can write, you can kind of scrapbook. And also I want to mention, recent years, they come out with a number of journaling apps. So I used to primarily do journal writing on a book, which I think is a really lovely practice. Recently, I've been gravitating more towards an app-based journal, and the one I use is called Day One. You can download it, but there's a variety of other ones. And I really like it because I have it on my phone, but also syncs to my laptop, and I can use that on the go. So that's really nice. Sometimes I only have a few minutes. I can do a little bit of journaling. And Mozilla is saying I combine journaling with my prayers too. Yes, that is a really good example as well of a way to utilize that. So yeah, so I like that it kind of syncs the phone to the computer. I can do that on the go. Sometimes they call this like micro journaling, where you just have a few minutes, kind of write a few little things. And that's really great. The nice thing about using an app as well is that, one, it's secure because it's on your phone, it's kind of protected, so you don't have to worry about leaving your journal out somewhere, losing it, etc. And you can add like photos and videos or voice memos, so that is something nice too. So I do that a lot on my app. I might add some photos on there. And so that's another great thing to do, and it's a little easier on the app-based journaling, that you can even have a total like photo journal, just photos, maybe little captions. I mean, that could be a way of journaling as well. So there's so many different things that you can do. And the voice memos. So this is something my dad used to do a lot too. He had was old school kind of voice recorders, and he would do kind of journaling on the voice memos. Of course, now everybody's phone has that, often will have that capability as well. But that's another way. If you don't really like putting pen to paper or typing, you can also do a verbal journal, and that might be something that would speak to you as well. Okay, so yes, okay, and Bobby's saying, to reminds me of my diary as a young girl. Yeah, exactly. I think journaling and having a diary is kind of like the same thing, essentially. Yes. So I wanted to share with you a few prompts as well. So again, like I mentioned, you go on online and search. You can find many, many, many different ideas, and I just pulled out a few for you to think about today and to consider. But really, this is a creative practice, and you can use so many different options. And I want to say too that you can use one prompt like many times. Maybe, for example, if you think about what gives me joy in my life, that might be a prompt that you want to come back to every 6 months or every year. You might want to circle back to that one, for example, or other ones. You can use them, and each time you ask that question of yourself, you may be surprised to have different answers. So the ones I listed here, what in my life is calling to me? Where is life leading me right now? I mean, that's an interesting question. What am I most grateful for today, right? And you can list 3 or 5 or 20 things I'm grateful for today. What are 5 good things that happened to me this week? I think that's a really great one too. In terms of evolutionary psychology, psychologists will tell us that we do have a negativity bias. And that is expected because our ancestors were highly anxious, right? If you were a small creature living on the savannah, I mean, you had to scan for danger. There's predators, so we're always scanning for danger, and so we have that still. So it really does require an intentional practice to really focus on the positive. What are the good things that happen? Because we are always so programmed to look at the negative, look at the threats, and that's part of who we are. So it is important to cultivate the gratitude and the positivity too. What do you turn to in times of difficulty for support? Or what can I do to further unleash my creativity? I like these last two as well. Write a letter to yourself 5 years from now. What advice do you have for your future self? And this can go in different directions too. Write a letter to yourself 5 years ago. What advice would you have given yourself at that time? Or write a letter to yourself as a child. What do you want to tell, as an adult, what would you like to tell your child self? That's a really powerful journaling prompt. Write a letter to yourself to give yourself encouragement and advice for today. I really like that one too. There's a lot of these like letter writing ones, you could also write a letter to a difficult person in your life. What were the things that you would like to say to them? You don't have to send it, but if you write it in your journal, sometimes it can help you process some of your emotions. So I would love it also, if you are somebody who uses prompts, I would love for you to share that in the chat. What is a great prompt that you like, that you've used, or that you've found? If anybody has any great prompts you want to share with everybody on our workshop today, I would love for you to drop that in the chat too. It'd be great to kind of cultivate some of that collective wisdom of everybody here today. That would be awesome. So I'll give you all some time for that, but I'll move on here. Oh, and Denise asked about bullet journaling. Yes, that is another form of journaling as well. I looked at that sometime. I think that also has to do kind of like organizing and planning and things. But yes, I mean, that is another way. I know they have specific bullet journals that you can buy, or you can look up how to do that specifically. It's a pretty detailed process. But there are just so many ways. I think that highlights as well just how many ways there are to utilize this practice. So I want to talk just a little bit about creating healthy self-care rituals. So people often ask about how to create healthy habits. And with journaling, as well as with any other healthy habit like exercise or meditation or prayer or yoga, it can be helpful to have a routine, maybe a time of day that you like to journal. For some people, it might be first thing in the morning. And a lot of people would journal first thing in the morning. Maybe it's even a dream journal. That's another thing you can use journaling for as well. To have a dream journal. A lot of people who do dream journals will actually do that before they get out of bed, because they say it's easy to remember dreams before you get out of bed. So anyway, that's a tip. But maybe you want to journal over your cup of coffee or tea in the morning, or journaling before you go to bed. That's what I do, because I find that before I go to bed, I like to process what went on in the day. And for me, because I do a lot of expressive journaling, and so I find that if I kind of get it all out and kind of work through some of my feelings, and it helps me actually to rest better at night, and so I'm not ruminating about things. I kind of get it out. So that for me is what I do, but kind of everybody's different. Also, maybe you have downtime at your lunch break, those are different things. Jizia said, I like to journal my highs and lows of the day and the emotions attached to these events. That's a really great tip. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, highs and lows. That's a really excellent one. Thank you. And so, in terms of creating these healthy rituals, I also want to say, don't focus too much on the should. I think we can get stuck in that, and when we add this layer of pressure, like shame, it can also often be counterproductive. I think many of us have experienced that. It's like, oh, I really should exercise every day, and then, the more I get all worked up about what I should be doing, then the more I'm not doing it, right? So, I say, with journaling, along with any other healthy habit, setting an attainable goal. And I think we've talked a lot about this with the whole resolutions program as well, of setting an attainable goal. So with journaling, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's 3 times a week. If you don't have time, maybe a list of 5 things you're grateful for. Keep it simple. I find that when I have the time, I like to write a long entry. But if that's my expectation every time, then I'm putting it off, and and it just gets delayed. So if I don't have time or energy to write a long entry, I'll just write like 5 little things, or maybe just like a photo and a caption in my little app journal. So those are some tips there. So and create your ritual. This is where we can bring in multiple other self-care tools. Maybe for you, you like to have, a bubble bath at the end of the day with the candles, a journal in the bath or something. Or maybe there's a favorite chair and you wrap yourself in a favorite blanket, light a candle, put your aromatherapy on. Maybe that's something you like to do. Lavender essential oil is my favorite. But whatever your ritual is, it doesn't have to be complicated. Again, maybe it's the last thing you do before going to bed, and that's a ritual too. And I'll just say, I have an 8-month-old baby, so I would love to have like, oh, I'll do the bubble bath and then my aromatherapy and this whole thing, which I have done in the past, lovely. But with my time these days, it's like the 5 minutes before I go to bed, and that's great too. And I do find benefits from that. So again, whether you journal over that first cup of coffee in the morning, and maybe that helps you set your intentions for the day. Maybe you want to write some positive affirmations. Those are all some ideas for you to think about. So Jesus also saying, so I also used to journal my mood for the day and document each month using colors to represent each mood: angry, happy, sick, content, etc. It was really cool to look back at how my moods changed throughout the month. I should start doing this again. It was fun. Oh, that's a really great idea. I love that. That's a really great example of just like journaling is so open. It can be so creative. I've always loved using like the colored markers and pens, and like that's a great use of colors to associate the colors with a mood in your journal. And yeah, thank you for that. That's awesome. Very cool. So people often also want to know, so how do I restart a habit after I've kind of fallen off? And I just want to say too, just remember, we don't have to be perfect journalers. I'm a recovering perfectionist and I get it. I'd love to say that I journaled every day since I was 12, but no, I've gone through times where I'm pretty consistent, and then maybe like months go by or like even years without journaling. And like, that's fine. Just remember, this is for you. This is only for you. It's not for anyone else. If you feel stuck, go back to giving it a few minutes a day. Use a prompt. Write a list of gratitudes or affirmations. Write down inspiring quotes or like song lyrics you come across. Again, if you're using the app, just take a photo. So this is your creative outlet. It's just for you. So that's what I say about that. Okay. Right. So yeah, reflecting on what's a healthy ritual for you. Okay, so I've listed a few resources here, and I won't go through all of those. They're different apps, and again, it's like I mentioned, it's really nice to like pick out like a beautiful journal. Like this one I really like, except it's lined. The papers are lined, but again, you can use any old notebook, and that's totally fine. I love that because it doesn't have to be fancy. You can get started with journaling today. It doesn't. You don't have to like buy a bunch of stuff, and you don't have to sign up for a subscription or membership or anything like that. You really can get started with this today with a pen and a paper, and it can be a really effective form of self-care, healing. It can help you find joy, make meaning, find inspiration, and so that's pretty awesome about journaling. That's what I have for y'all today, and I hope this has been really helpful. And at this point, I would love to hear some of your thoughts. I really appreciate some of the comments you all have given already in the chat box here, some of your experiences. And I would love to hear too, from other folks, what is your self-care ritual around journaling? What have you found to be the benefits of journaling for you? Or maybe why do you want to get started with journaling? If you're just beginning, like why now? Why do you want to get started with journaling now? And also again, like what are some of the prompts that you've used that you want to share with everybody? Other tips. So we have a few more minutes before the end of our time today. So I would love to just hear your thoughts.
Laura, we have one question.
Sure.
Came in. I know you listed your resources for apps, but what's the specific app that you were just discussing?
Oh, thank you. Yes, the one I was discussing is called Day One. Yep. So I think there is a cost on that now. It used to be free, and now all these apps, they want you to pay for things. But on this list too, you may want to look at some other ones. But I have found benefit from that one. So, and I've used it consistently now for a few years. So that is one that I like, and I use. The nice thing about that one, I didn't mention this, that you can also put videos on there. And I said I have my 8-month-old little baby, so I put photos there, upload little videos, and that's part of my journal now, like the photos and videos too. So that's a nice, yeah, called Day One. I have an iPhone, so it's on that platform. I'm not sure if it's on other platforms. Oh, how do you overcome the fear? Oh, great question. How do you overcome the fear that your journal might be read by others? That's why I haven't started. Yes, I know. See, this is a good question. Um, so that is the benefit of the app-based one, because you have your password or your fingerprint or however it is nowadays. So there is a little more security when it's on an app, or you can also do like a locked document, on a computer too, with like a password protected document. Yeah, that is, now when you have a paper-based journal, you can always keep it in a safe or something like that. But yeah, there is a little bit more risk always, I think, with a paper journal of, yeah, somebody could find it or read it. And yeah, that is a barrier, because you want your journal, you want to be able to like be totally free with that and not have to filter. So that's, so yeah, if you are worried about being read by others, I would maybe, yeah, do it on your phone. Even if you don't have an app either, you can use like a notes thing, or your phone is password protected. So that's what you might start on. And Bobby's saying, I want to slow down and reflect on my journey in life. Yes. I think that's a great thing to journal about, um, as well. Yes, awesome. Um, Oh, yes. Okay. And so Mazelle's saying, because I'm on my phone and computer a lot during the day, I actually love writing. Yes, exactly. So this is the other side of the coin there. I know I'm the same way too. It's like, oh, I got the phone in my face, my hand all the time, all day, and the screens, right? So it actually can be nice. So you kind of have to assess for you what's the best thing and you can do both too. You can do something like a little journaling on the go on your phone, or your gratitude journal on the phone, and then maybe, more of an expressive journal in writing, or vice versa, for example. So you kind of have to assess for yourself, what is most beneficial. Absolutely. Did I miss any other question? Let's see. This is going to be recorded, and I think this is being recorded, and I think this is going to be sent out too. So you'll be able to share this with others as well. Okay. I have a box of journals. When I signed up for this class, it prompted me to start journaling. Okay, great. Yeah. Yes. How can I share the meeting? Yeah, you'll get a link, right? So I think you can forward that to other people too, right? Yes. Okay. Did I miss anything? I think I did. Let's see. Um, let's see. Yeah, again, Mazzella, mentioned journaling and prayer. So yes, I think we can really incorporate this in our spiritual life as well. Whatever your spiritual tradition is. Um, and Krishna says, I started journaling due to a rough experience at my past job, and the therapist recommended it. Yeah. I found it helped some then, and I went into retirement because things didn't get better. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that experience. I really appreciate that. Um, and that's an example too, right? I think sometimes different self-care tools can go hand in hand. I think counseling is an incredibly supportive um, practice as well, and that can really help us. And then, doing therapy and journaling, and those can go like hand in hand. So yes, as I mentioned, journaling has a lot of benefit. There's a lot of research on it. And I hope that this has been helpful for you today to inspire you to continue your journaling practice. So thanks so much for everybody for joining us. We appreciate it.